to breeze you. One place for that. Who wrote those words of that sad song? Who's lifted to another roof for this to kiss the eve, not the game that we have alive? Help the crook that went to help the see for myself and come from the way the pearl for the meat, the necklace could do. That song. It was your place and after the road. Whoever for the after sing that song. The sun is sharper to throw his hat away. I am not the spangled home. The breeze brought that from the rejected. Bathe them for the glue. I am not the blue on your single flag. It's singing the fade away, and I can be the song, not to be blue. I am not afraid. How do I buy a flower? Could it never sell us for one like the bottle? But until I can find out. Beneath that village door, I usually don't roll island and here. Just in and out and out. I wanna find your dome, gonna just be the place for this. You can find yourself instead of that for the telling the bell for the doctor to find us only one that's something that never long enough for the meeting instead of that for the giving of heaven and lies and I'm going there. Not to be for this be last is destiny trying to go for the sun. Dear God to play the day again for this be the seven for the discipline beside giving empty data put the sun into the sea for the past but then struggling in the hour and find an unknown for the collection of you. All along for the summer's night clapping your hands to see for the veiling and the spectrum of faith and not the subtle for the moon to shimmer grace and yoke and flutter too far from for me for the fingers of the woods but I never lost a snap for the beat depressed. Shafted after the narrow bed and still frowned at the window for the amber flying and guide. Still for the sun, for the song, to find a craving of the but you can find the flowers on the herd of tales and these would be the never dreamed and not before the dipping, waiting over your brows. Who wrote those words of that sad song? Who was lifted to another roof for this to kiss the eve, not the game that we have alive? Hard to be and hard to breathe you. One place for the eye can see the see-through. Or for the understanding that we are more than a poem, more than a sound and a narrative. Dialogue, stay alive, come this way. The butterfly for the beetle. You can find that for the center of a tune. You can find that for these to be the bees in the marching one by one for the platoon. And this will be the hands that struck the time and day for these to need to find the yesterdays for the book is combined for the feather. The feather but along for this to be the old lover for your revisitation of what you find the countless times for these multitudes for these to be the under around the areas so this is the land, the garden now for the troubadour for your elms to be trained in solitude for the playing upon that for the weary to sleeping below for you can find a pencil return to pencils line to find a punctual or service to you for the song and be not to be afraid receive that from me cordially and louder when I come when I find that where my eyes are not to the mist and these to be the uproar for the thick day. Dreamt of that. It's clever enough for the purple flower proportion in several places. The capacity rounder than a roner than a rooter than not for the grown for the orchid of the passion. You're worn and out now fell for the world is green. Study for the counterintuitive for the continued with the grass and this is the kind of hair self for privilege and not the side in the sun. For this the hills are the full enough for the new fashions blow. Not for the retract for the single spice of the pain of the jealous for the public of the noon for the providence of the sun for the progress and that beauty reclaiming and not for the only swear with this tune and you can find the dance is the host of the surrender and I can never be the devil to be aware of that for the canceling of the but you can find that host and not to be get by and flowers to the side for the sunsets daffodils yellow for this to be the clover and the road for the this to be the only land and that with the draw until then you can find an hour and an hour of the man. Or it was hours and hours in the depth for the sunset washes you for the rose and weather but the rushes that for the western mystery you can find the streets land and the end upon the poem horizons vanish and this is not to be a fairy tale of tell you fairly I have failed that song due to the suffering due to the understanding Due to the no questions why I asked why, for this was only the door ringing for or your orchard for you to be the Sabbath, and the place in it instead of that for the bell for the church, or a little for the only that sings, and the guy preaches that for the noted to say that clergyman for the sermon is no longer, and I instead of that getting for the heaven and lasting all going on along for that for thee to be the place for your character. I am not saying not at this home, but I'm going home. And this will be the summer of a shower, and I'll be the song for the birds will sing. Went to the helping of the sea to see. I am not for the kissing of the eaves, and this is another rooftop, and this is bathing inside of the glee for the spangles of hung, and not enough for the only thing that fade away. Replace that for the hoisted roads and birds that only choose the different verbs to symbolize that feeling of falling off that apple tree. Hard to tell, it was hard to see you. It was hard to be and hard to breathe you. One place for that I could see through. More for the understanding that we are more than a poem, more than a sound and a narrative. Dialogue, stay alive, come this way. A butterfly for the beetle. You can find that for the center of a tune. You can find that for these to be the bees in the marching one by one for the platoon. Then this would be the hands that struck the time the day for these to need to find the yesterdays for the orchestra you could bind further feather. The feather but on for this to be the old lover for your revisitation of for which you can find the countless time for these multitudes. For these to be the around the area, so this would be the land, the garden. The garden now for the troubadour, for your elm, for the betraying the solitude, for the playing upon that, and for the weary, the sleeping below, for you can find a pensive return. The pensive is not to find a punchable, or a servicing of a song. And be not to be afraid, receive that from me cordially and loudly when I find that where my eyes are. Not through the mist, and these will be the uproar for the thick day. Dreamt to that, for it's clever enough for the purple flower proportion of several places, the capacity rounder than eroded, and rooted than not for the grown for the orchid of the passion. You're worn and out, now fell for the world is green. Study for the counterintuitive, for the continue with the grass, and this is the kind of hairstyle for privilege, and not the side in the sun. For this, the hills are the full enough for the new fashions blow. Not for the retract, for the single spice, for the pain of the jealous, for the public of the noon, for the privates of the sun, for the progress and that beauty reclaiming, and not for the only swerve of the student. You can find a dance. The dance is the host of the surrender, and I can never be the different, be aware of that for the casting, but you can find a host, and not to get by and flowers, the cyber, the sunsets, daffodils, yellow, for this to be the clover in the road, for the this to be the only land, and that with the draw until then. You can find an hour and an hour of the men. Or it was hours and hours in the depth for the sunset washes you for the rose and weather, but the rushes that for the western mystery. You can find the streets land and end up on the phone. Horizons vanish, and this is not to be a fairy tale. If tell you fairly, I have failed that song. Due to the suffering, due to the understanding, due to the no questions why I asked why, for this was only the door ringing for or your orchard for you to be the Sabbath, and the place in it instead of that for the bell for the church, or a little for the owner that sings, and the guy preaches that for the noted to say that clergyman for the sermon is no longer, and I instead of that getting for the heaven and lasting all going on along, but I believe to be the place for your character. I am not saying not at this home, but I'm going home. This will be the summer of a shower, and I'll be the song for the birds will sing. Went to the helping of the sea to see. I am not for the kissing of the eaves, and this is another rooftop, and this is bathing inside of the glee for the spangles of hung, and not enough for the only thing that fade away. Replace that for the hoisted roads and birds that only choose the different verbs to symbolize that feeling of falling off that apple tree. We just gonna go from the place for your mystical mentality to find a piece of love in that night, and it was a dream of me, a dream of mine. It was the dream that left for that for the passion of me. It doesn't long last enough for the long for the nothing for the another human being, and it was being for something. Captured after the web for the both word. You fell off, and this will be the morning for that take place for the beyond that dawn. I've been shown that for the unconfusing to both worlds, that I can carry that uproar for the nothing been ahead, for the set on the ground, for this to be the lifting, for what you can find the sound, and I'll be the rainbow coming to that flip. time for the everything that can be compared. For this to be the feather for the plane, for the dreaming of a butterfly. But I know the name for this, something of the light for the sun, for the murmuring. I know what you can find, for the flaking of an old love, I find the sun. Revisit after life for the children's, and you find those turbans and seas. It was that bee, not afraid to be spin dizzy. Oh, for the wings, broken heart. Love that for the love, laughter, just to come breezes made. And the matter of the eyes, and this be the mist, and this is the butterfly. But the people in the you can find the woods. Would you do it or not? This is not a song for that, for the vision, for the world came my confident to see you.
We just gonna go from the place for yo, miss. We just gonna go from the place for yo, mystical mentality can find a piece of love in that night, and it was a dream of me, a dream of mine. It was a dream that left for that for the passion of me. It doesn't long last enough for the long for the nothing for the another human being, and it was meant for something. Captured eyes to the way for the both world. You fell off, and this will be the morning for not take place for the beyond that dawn. I've been shown that for the unconfusing of both worlds, and I can carry that uproar for nothing been hated for the set on the ground for this to be the lifting of which you can find the sound, and I'll be the rainbow coming to that flood. confident, everything that can be prepared for this, be the feather for the pain, for the dreaming of a butterfly. And I know the name of this, something of the life of the sun, for the mermaid, I know what you can find it, for the flaking of the old love, I find the sun. Revisit that for the children's, and you find those turbans and seas. It was that bee, not afraid to be spin dizzy, or for the winged broken heart. Love that for the love, laughter, just to come breezy's made, and made her with the eyes, said this will be the mist, and this is the butterfly, but the people in the, you can find in the woods. Would you do it or not? This is not a song for that, for the vision, for the world came by confidently to see you.